Certainly was a big night. We now welcome in USC Associate Professor of Political Science, Anj Marie Hancock, with a lot more on this topic. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here.
So a huge night for Donald Trump. Do you think he's going to get the delegates needed to avoid a contested convention?
I'm not sure he'll get quite there. There's a little bit of math, and depending on the strategery that Cruz and Kasich are trying to put in place, but he'll be close enough that it will be nearly impossible to convince those Trump voters that something wasn't rigged if they try and take it away at the convention.
So let's talk about Cruz, because I guess he has a slim chance, and his hope at this point in time is going forward. Does he have any chance of, I don't know, kind of success from here on out? I mean, Indiana maybe, but what's his window of opportunity here?
His window of opportunity mathematically disappeared tonight, unfortunately for him in his campaign. However, what he's hoping is that he can get close enough and that the ground game is good enough that lots of those unbound delegates, he can kind of capture those. And that's a specific strategy he's really hoping.
He's been working on that too, hasn't he?
Exactly, and California is the main place where he's really hoping to do well with that strategy.
So how bad of a night was this for the anti-Trump Cruz-Kasich alliance? And were they a day late and $1 short on this?
I think that's pretty much the case. Even when they announced the strategy, they weren't necessarily all on the same page about what that strategy was in the first place. And of course, this was something that Mitt Romney had talked about months ago. So I think it is pretty much too much for that strategery to work.
Okay, now turning to Hillary's big night. Her speech tonight and really all week sounds like she's already turned her focus onto Donald Trump. Do you think her nomination is inevitable?
I think it's pretty close to inevitable. And the Sanders campaign started to kind of recognize that in how they were talking today. They talked about reassessing. They talked about this idea of influencing the platform. Now, his supporters didn't want to hear that, but certainly the campaign kind of sees the writing on the wall. And I think they did even last week with the New York primary. I think that's part of the reason why he flew home right after that defeat.
Since we're on Sanders, let's talk about that, because it doesn't seem like he's willing to drop out yet. So does he stay in to kind of frame discussions, maybe policy? What's the end game for him?
Well, I think the end game is he is someone who is kind of a true believer, ideological candidate. So he wants to influence the platform. I don't think he'll run again, so it's not about his next opportunity the way that it was for Hillary in '08. But he really wants to kind of shape that platform, which is ironic because technically the Democrats are not even his party.
He's got a lot of money, too.
Absolutely.
Right.
So, Trump several times tonight in a portion of his speech to his supporters said that Hillary Clinton doesn't have the strength and the stamina to be president. She doesn't have the strength and the stamina to deal with China. Is that going to be interpreted as code language for she's a woman?
Well, I think he's pretty clear about when he's talking about her in terms of being a woman. So the coded language is definitely there, but he's also quite clear when he wants to attack her for being a woman at the same time. So I think he's mixing and matching, but the overall tone is anti-woman, unfortunately.
Trump tonight said in his acceptance Q&A, if you will, that he was doing really well in California, that he was polling 50%. I haven't seen the polls, but is that about right?
That is about right in terms of the public opinion polling that's just been done in the past couple of weeks. As he started to kind of hire a campaign manager in California and start to try and put down some roots, there is this sense that there is this support for Trump in California.
Oh, California's going to be interesting. Finally, a big night for us to be watching, right?
Absolutely.
Do you think it will be decisive? Will California decide whether this is the Republicans particularly have an open or closed convention, do you think?
I think California is Cruz's last shot at that idea of having a contested convention. I'm not sure that it will happen on the Democratic side, but definitely on the Republican side, California will be decisive for the first time in a generation, really.
Exactly. All right, Dave and Anj Marie, thank you so much.